in the depths of a dense forest in Eastern Asia, where the wind whispered ancient secrets and the rivers sang songs of wisdom. There was a small village called Yamadera. It was a place of tranquility, where the mountains touched the sky, and the ancient trees held memories of times long past. The village was known for housing an old temple, a sanctuary dedicated to cultivating the mind and awakening the spirit. In this village lived a young man named Satoru. Since childhood, Satoru had been fascinated by the stories told by the elders about the monks who had achieved enlightenment in the hidden corners of that temple. However, his daily life was filled with routine tasks, helping in the fields, tending to the animals, and following the family-imposed schedule. Although he was dedicated and respected the customs of his village, Satoru felt a growing emptiness in his heart, a restlessness he could not explain. One night, while gazing at the starry sky from the top of a hill, Satoru heard an inner voice, soft yet firm, that said to him, "Know yourself, Satoru, and you will discover the true purpose of your existence." That message echoed in his mind like thunder in the silence, awakening in him an uncontrollable urge to seek answers. Determined to understand the meaning of that voice, Satoru decided to go to the temple in search of guidance. He knew his journey would be long and challenging, but he felt that it was the only way to find inner peace and fill the void that consumed him. The next morning, at dawn, Satoru bid farewell to his family, taking only the essentials with him: some provisions, a change of clothes, and an old scroll he had found among his grandfather's belongings. The scroll, bearing symbols and teachings he did not yet understand, would be his spiritual compass during the journey. Along the way, Satoru encountered various travelers and pilgrims, each with their own stories and challenges. He heard tales of the tests of patience and perseverance that the monks of the temple subjected those seeking enlightenment to. Many gave up before reaching the temple's entrance, fearing the unknown. However, Satoru felt increasingly drawn to this destination. As he walked, Satoru reflected on the meaning of the words he had heard that night. He knew that know yourself was not just superficial advice, but a key to something much deeper. He realized that to understand its true meaning, he would need to face his fears, doubts, and above all, his own limitations. After days of walking, Satoru finally caught sight of the temple perched atop a mist-covered mountain. It was a simple yet majestic structure, radiating an aura of peace and mystery. Upon reaching the temple gates, he was greeted by an old monk with a serene appearance and a penetrating gaze. "Welcome, young Satoru," the monk said. "The temple has been awaiting you. Are you ready to take the first step on your inner journey?" Satoru nodded, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. He knew that from that moment on, his life would never be the same. The monk, who introduced himself as Master Hiroshi, led Satoru into the temple. The walls were adorned with ancient paintings and scriptures that told the stories of great masters and their journeys toward enlightenment. The atmosphere was enveloped in deep silence, interrupted only by the soft sound of the wind rustling through the bamboo leaves in the temple garden. Master Hiroshi brought Satoru to a meditation room, where the young man was instructed to sit in a lotus position before a small altar. On the altar, there was a single lit candle, its flame seeming to dance in rhythm with Satoru's breath. "To know yourself," Master Hiroshi began, "you must first silence the mind. The mind is like a lake disturbed by the wind. Its murky waters prevent us from seeing the bottom. The first step is to calm this lake, allowing the hidden truth to reveal itself. With these words, the master handed Satoru a koan, a Zen riddle that cannot be solved by ordinary logic. The koan read, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" Satoru was to meditate on this riddle not with the intention of finding a logical answer, but to break through the barriers of the rational mind. For weeks, Satoru devoted himself to meditating on the koan. At first, his mind struggled desperately trying to find an answer. He felt frustrated, confused, and at times even doubted the validity of his quest. But gradually something began to change. Satoru realized that the true purpose of the koan was not to find an answer, but to open the mind to new forms of perception. One night while meditating under the moonlight, Satoru had a sudden insight. He understood that the sound of one hand clapping was not something that could be heard with the ears, but felt with the heart. In that moment, he experienced a brief moment of clarity where all his worries and doubts dissipated, leaving him in a state of deep peace. The next day, when he shared his experience with Master Hiroshi, the monk smiled and said, "You have taken your first step, Satoru." The awakening of the mind begins with the understanding that truth cannot be captured by logic, but only experienced directly. Continue with your practice, and the answers you seek will come from within. After months of practice and meditation, Satoru began to feel a deeper connection with himself and the world around him. However, there were still unresolved questions in his mind, particularly related to the scroll he had brought with him. He didn't understand the meaning of the symbols and felt that there was more to discover about his own story. One day, while exploring the mountains around the temple, Satoru found a hidden cave among the rocks. The entrance was narrow and covered with vines, but something compelled him to enter. As he passed through the dark passage, he came upon an ancient sanctuary, illuminated by a soft light emanating from crystals in the walls. In the center of the sanctuary, there was a stone pedestal on which rested a familiar object, a small wooden box with inscriptions similar to those on the scroll he possessed. With his heart racing, Satoru opened the box and found a second scroll along with a small statue of a smiling Buddha. As he unrolled the scroll, Satoru read the engraved words, "The answers you seek are not in the scriptures, but in your own heart. This is the legacy of your ancestors, passed down from generation to generation to those who venture on the journey of self-discovery." Satoru realized that the scroll was a guide left by his ancestors, a reminder that true knowledge cannot be found in books or external teachings, but only through direct experience and introspection. Upon returning to the temple, Satoru shared his discovery with Master Hiroshi, who congratulated him for following his intuition. "The most valuable treasures," said the master, "are not made of gold or precious stones, but of wisdom and self-knowledge. This is the true legacy your ancestors have left you years past." And Satoru continued his practice at the temple, always seeking to deepen his understanding of himself and the world around him. He faced many trials and challenges, confronting his fears and overcoming the illusions that once clouded his vision. One spring morning, while meditating in the temple garden, Satoru had a transcendent experience. His mind, now clear as a calm lake, expanded beyond the limits of his body. He felt a profound unity with all things: the trees, the birds, the mountains, and the sky. In that moment, Satoru understood that he was part of a greater whole, a manifestation of the ever-changing universe. He understood that know yourself ultimately meant recognizing that there is no separation between the self and the universe, that everything is interconnected, and true awakening occurs when one lets go of the ego and embraces the entirety of existence. When he shared this experience with Master Hiroshi, the old monk smiled and said, "Satoru, you have taken a great step in your journey. Remember that true knowledge does not only reside in the answers we find, but in the questions we continue to ask. Every experience is an opportunity for growth, and every lesson learned brings us closer to the essence of our being. Continue walking with humility and an open mind, for the awakening of the mind is an ongoing process, revealed with each moment lived with awareness and presence at the end of this profound journey of self-discovery." Satoru discovered that true mind awakening does not lie in ready-made answers, but in the continuous exploration of oneself and the universe around us. Zen wisdom teaches us that by truly knowing ourselves, we open doors to inner peace and a deeper understanding of life. It is in this process of self-discovery that we find true freedom, just like Satoru. Each of us is on a unique journey. There are no shortcuts to mind awakening. The path must be walked with patience, humility, and courage. May this story inspire you to look within, to question your certainties, and to open yourself to the infinite possibilities that self-knowledge can offer. If you wish to continue exploring topics like this and deepen your journey of spiritual growth, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Join us and continue to unravel the mysteries of the mind and spirit.